So I'm excited to have Anna here on the Changemaker Sessions show. Great to have you.
Hello. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
How are you doing? It has been a couple of years we last spoke in the
Yeah,
other
it's been
podcast
since
that I had.
the podcast and the book, I believe. It's been a few years, before COVID, possibly. I don't
Yeah,
recall.
definitely, because COVID was my kind of pivoting point to stop or end my concert photography career and go another path of
Ah,
coaching. So
yeah, I'm sure you're not alone in that.
probably. And so I can remember it was a couple of months ago probably when I stumbled across your Facebook account again, and there were like
hmm
Coldplay photos, and I was like, that's interesting. And then I found out that you're um, it seems like the official tour photographer or part of
I
photographer for a
am.
leg,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, holy shit, wow, that's cool. I mean, wow, I mean, Coldplay is probably the biggest band right now on earth that you can tour with as a photographer.
They've got a lot going on right now, so it's really exciting. Yeah, definitely deep in the middle of a long tour cycle.
Yeah. So I'm curious, just let me know how came this to fruition? Like, how did this all start? And yeah, just go from there.
Yeah, I think it's kind of just like a at its base, it's kind of just like a typical kind of like working your way up through a career type of story. It was like a fun fact for me is that kind of ending up in this role that I'm in currently was also a milestone marker as 10 years into this career as a tour photographer.
Hmm.
Not full time throughout all 10 years of it, but it's been about 10 years since this has been like my specific primary pursuit. And definitely the last several years, especially since COVID, this has been like full time plus full time and then some. So yeah, just it mostly revolves around referrals, and that's kind of how I ended up in this role as well. Very generous referral that ended up with me having some conversations with the team, and next thing I know, I'm in Brazil with Coldplay. A little over a year ago now, and yeah, we're still going. So next up is summer tours in Europe across a couple of months. But I'm currently in the middle of like a nice, healthy, long break, probably one of the longer breaks from the road that I've had in the last couple of years. So,
Mm.
uh, yeah, really just leaning into that for the moment.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, how was it when you got the confirmation that you can be the tour photographer of Coldplay?
I got more or less got a verbal confirmation on the call when I was going through like a bit of an interview process. So yeah, it's surreal in that moment, like when you get the yes of the thing that you kind of like have your fingers crossed for, but also trying to
Mhm.
like have realistic expectations and um, the opportunities come and go, and there's certainly been lots of missed opportunities in my career as well. So I think I just kind of kept it together, long enough to finish the call, not like scare anyone off with with um with any type of like too much enthusiasm. But yeah, immediately like called some people in my inner circle to let them know the plan and what I was moving on to do. And yeah, just really exciting and definitely time for like a moment of celebration in the career.
Yeah, definitely. Wow. And for guys who are not into concert photography, which might be the most of them, so it's a pretty challenging field, I would say. At least from
Yeah, it's
my
challenging in a lot of
experience,
ways.
it's like, it sounds cool to be a tour photographer, but there is a lot of stress going on. You have to deliver and all this stuff. So maybe you can tell me more about like how do you handle like the workload that you have to deliver in a way as a job?
Yeah, you're very accurate in that it's challenging in a lot of ways, technically, socially, just like mental and emotional bandwidth, physical bandwidth, all of those things. So yeah, even just like the delivery workload is kind of one aspect of that. Um, I will say my mind immediately goes to the fact that the nature of touring, for those that aren't familiar, the best way I can describe it is you're in like a bubble of your job, of your work, because you are traveling with this outfit and everything is really self-contained. So you kind of, at some point, a few days into the tour, I find for me anyway, there's a point where you kind of just, the switch gets flipped and you have like mentally arrived into this space, like you start to, the memories of being at home and like the tasks waiting for you back there and just all that kind of like personal life admin, those become a bit more distant in your mind and you're able to just like really get into this ecosystem of the tour itself. So in a way that the nature of it is also what allows it to be possible, if that makes sense. By just, you're kind of like eat, sleep, live, breathe this project that you're currently a part of. So it really helps being like mentally detached from everything else to do, work these long days, be in this environment over and over again and like delivering a large number of assets at the end of the day. But as I'm sure we can talk more about, the flip side of that coin is you are mentally detached from the rest of your life. It's like it's the challenge and the antidote at the same time. So I think just trying to like be present in the work that I'm doing and on the tour is like really the most helpful thing I can leverage to get through just the logistical challenge of what I'm doing and what I'm delivering.
Right. And I can remember I was on a little shorter tours, but after a couple of days, it's like I didn't even know what day it was because everything was like the same, travel. And this was like traveling with the bus. In your case, it's different, I guess. But traveling with the bus to one location to the other, doing the sound check, and having the show, then traveling to the next location. It's like, oh, I don't even know what time and date it is.
Yeah, that's so common. It kind of just becomes almost like a meme within the tour, and it's just an understood thing of like, we don't know what day it is. It doesn't matter what day it is. You don't ever ask anyone what day it is because they're also not going to know. And also it's irrelevant. We just know like what we're doing that day.
Right.
Don't really need to know where you are until maybe you get to a day off and you're like, okay, what do I do with myself today? And then you start like looking around. But otherwise it's really best for me. The most healthy approach is to just kind of like stay in the bubble and not poke my head out until there's a reason to do so. Just kind of compartmentalizing, if you will.
Yeah. And how is it like? I assume Coldplay is not playing a show every day, so it's a little stretch, a couple of days, and then a show.
Yeah, the pattern tends to be 2 shows in a row, and then 1 to 2 days before the next 2 shows set. So like in those in between days, we may be off if we're staying in the same city. If not, we may be traveling to the next place, maybe combined with a day off or a load-in day, depending on what your role is on the tour.
Yeah, and I've seen they're playing like 4 shows in a row in Vienna.
Yeah. There's a lot of 4 shows in one city. In some places, it's even 6. They've done more than that in a stretch, which, as a touring staff member of this production, is quite a luxury to be able to stay in one place for that long. It's definitely a next level of kind of being able to settle a little bit that is not common in touring. And I've certainly like experienced the spectrum and like done the grind. And I still have other artists that I work with that are, not in a position to stay in one place for multiple days. So I'm still getting a little bit of both worlds. But yeah, in this scenario, we're kind of posted up in a hotel for several days, possibly a week, which it's amazing how much that improves like the quality of life and like your mental stability and just the sustainability of it all too. It's like you can do the best thing for a certain period of time, but I don't know anyone in this job that doesn't experience some level burnout, if not like really extreme burnout after doing that for a year or 2 years or more without much of a break. So this is quite a good middle ground.
Mm,
If you're going to exist in that transient life, this is the best way to do it.
right. And do you have any, habits or any personal things that you figured out that works best for you to keep yourself mentally and physically sane in this environment?
Yeah, it's definitely still an area I can improve on. But I will say a combination of experience and having done this for so many years and kind of like perfecting my self-care, if you will, combined with just age, honestly, and like my personal priorities shifting in life in general as I get older. So a combination of like experience and just age. I would say a couple of specific things that come to mind are stretching daily, huge. Maybe wasn't as critical when I was in my mid 20s
Yeah,
and could
now
kind of
when we're
bounce
getting
back.
older, stretching is
Yeah,
huge.
no,
Yes.
now it's like my body just fossilizes if I miss more than than one day of that. And then also just like being really careful about um, food and eating habits in that, like, when you're traveling, you kind of think of that as like, oh, this is an entirely parallel opportunity to like food tourism. And I'm in all these different places. And on this tour, I'm in so many different countries, even. So I have all this access and exposure to get to try so many different things. And a lot of people really love to take advantage of that. That might be their favorite part of touring. And I kind of had to, at some point in the last couple of years, just accept the fact that that's not for me. My body says no to trying different things on a regular basis, and just kind of like consistency with nutrition has really served me well. And like some people are so sad for me in that department about that. I don't really feel like I'm missing that much. Unfortunately, it didn't feel like I was really like losing or letting go of that much, not being someone who's like, a restaurant tourist or much of a foodie. So, it's okay. And to me, the benefit of like recognizing that I needed that consistency for my body and then just leaning into kind of committing to that has made a big difference. So I guess these things are a lot of physical self-care. And then on the mental side, it also ties into physical. All of it becomes very physical when you're on tour because it's so demanding in that way. But on the mental side, just speaking of tourism in general, all these new places, kind of the appeal and the presumed glamour of being a touring staff member is access to all of these cool places that you would maybe that you want to go or that you would never
Mm.
have the opportunity to go to. And so there's really a lot of like social pressure almost to really get out and see all of these locations, see the cities, do as much as possible. Um, and some people manage to do it. I'm so impressed for them, love that for them, happy for them. But for myself, kind of similarly to the nutritional aspect, is like it comes down to choosing between really seeing the world and like getting 8 hours of sleep a night. And
Mm.
sometimes you can do both, but it's not an every city thing for me. And I really have been working on just like rejecting the FOMO that comes with the decision that I made to do everything I can to get 8 hours of sleep every night, which is a wild ambition when you tour. Um,
Yeah.
Certainly easier, and I am certainly in a privileged position to accomplish that more now because of just like the format of this tour, where we're staying in a certain place for extended periods of time. And I find a way to balance it. That's sufficient for me.
Mm.
Meaning like if there's a specific kind of bucket list thing or place I want to see or something that like speaks to me directly, I'll carve out time for it. I'll try to make that work. But otherwise I'm not, I'm not doing it for the sake of being able to say that I did it, or there's kind of this pressure to feel like you're really taking advantage of the opportunity that you're given as someone who's like traveling the world for work. And that was such I don't think there was like a specific moment, but whenever that realization occurred over like however much time it took me to process that was so pivotal for me to realize that like I'm making this unglamorous, uncool decision to sleep. Yeah. And I know that I need that. And that's okay. That's enough. And it allows me to do my job better. It allows me to be in a better mental state for interacting with my friends on the tour. It allows me to be more emotionally available to other people and also to myself. So there's a lot of, and I think that falls more in the category of like, that's an age thing. That's like, it's like a wisdom with age of like, I don't need to show up in this job the way that all the people outside of this job think that I should. If there's any type of presumption that I'm squandering this privileged opportunity. And I totally understand why that perception might exist. I might have it myself if I didn't know how this feels. But yeah, as in all things, it's about balance. And my balance definitely skews more towards taking care of my body and my mind, and then fitting in the extra activities when there's time. And I find I enjoy that so much more. Like I can really enjoy going out to see things. If I don't feel like I just have this compounded exhaustion from seeing all of the things, I can just pick the one or two things that I want to do or see. So, that's how I take care of me specifically. That's how Anna does it.
Yeah. I like the Anna way, how she does it and how you're doing it. And yeah, thanks for sharing. And I also want to acknowledge you for, being so conscious about your decisions, and especially about
it took many years to arrive at that consciousness.
Yeah.
To be fair.
And I mean, as it sounds like, these are not the cool, sexy decisions. As you said, normally people go out every day and whatnot, and drinking and drugs. And I don't know, I've seen a lot on tour. But this, yeah, for me, it was also like, and this small tour that I did with Chantal, I think it was 14 days, and we were touring from place to another. And after the third day or fourth day, it's like, I don't want to see the city because I'm so tired. And so I totally get where you're coming from. But then, as a professional photographer, really delivering because you get your 8 hours of sleep, or what you need to take care of yourself. And I think that's what it's all about, because if you're just having the fun tour life that everyone expects of you, but then you're not delivering because you're just, tired or emotionally or physically not on the level where you need to be. So
yeah, exactly.
That's huge.
And it's fortunate that like the wisdom kind of comes with age. So before you kind of figure out what you need, possibly you're like young enough to be doing all the things anyway. Like I wouldn't change how I did anything. I don't think. I'm glad that I like really like lived it up and just experienced as much as possible when I was in like my mid to later 20s, like at the beginning of this process. When like the excitement and the adrenaline was like enough to keep me going.
Yeah.
It's not enough anymore. I do need sleep, and I do need like proper nutrition and just like mental stability. Turns out you can't survive without those things forever. So yeah, you shift where the fuel comes from. Definitely.
Yeah. And I'm curious, like, you're now like 10 plus years in this tour photography scene or job. So what drives you to, just go forward with it? What motivates you to do it?
Yeah, that could have so many answers. The first thing I think that immediately comes to mind is I think the sheer level of experience and expertise that I have accumulated in this field motivates me to continue doing it, because I find that things only become more enjoyable when you become really confident in what you're doing. And for me, confidence did not come easy growing up or even in the early stages of this career for a lot of reasons. But I think I was just like, my personality was predispositioned to lack confidence and just certainty about my own choices and how I wanted to like move about in this. So I think now that I'm at a place where I feel really comfortable and confident in my abilities, confident in the decisions that I make, and just pretty settled into this specific industry, even though it is really taxing and, I don't see myself doing this forever, but it, at least for the time being and the foreseeable future, it's so nice to be able to leverage the experience and the confidence to like do my job even better than ever before. And like that to me as a creative and as a professional is extremely motivating. Because it's, the things like the novelty of traveling the world, sadly, it does wear off. It's still very exciting. And it's like really cool to be in so many places that are new to me still. But there is like a honeymoon arc that this career does follow. And there's certain stages of that where like you're re-energized by being introduced to this new thing or that new thing. But ultimately, it's the novelty goes away. And that's okay. Because there's so many other like rewarding parts of it. So for me, that like just as a professional, I would say that's one primary answer. And then the other thing that I'm surprised that this has stuck with me almost with a novel feeling, just because of the repetitive nature of touring, but something that does continue to energize me throughout the years and even with every new tour leg, is the energy at the shows, like to put it simply. I think being around people even who are having a novel experience energizes your own experience, even though it's no longer novel, if that makes sense. So I'm referring to the fans that are at the show who have been looking forward to XYZ show for maybe 6 months or more. Like they planned ahead for this. This is a special occasion for them. They're there with their friends. They're seeing their favorite band. This is like a highlight of their year, even possibly. And for me, it's impossible not to catch that. It's like, it's contagious, so that's really special. And it's just like bearing witness to other people's enthusiasm that reminds me of my own enthusiasm when all of this stuff was really new and exciting and unknown. Even though we're having different experiences, it's really, I consider it a privilege to be adjacent to that when it's happening.
Get it. So what are or do you have bigger plans for your future? So what's in the next coming 10 years? Are you still a tour photographer?
Oh man, I'm excited to watch that unfold because I don't even know, to be honest. I want to continue on the current path that I'm on, as long as my body lets me do it, or until something else comes along that feels inspiring that I want to pursue. But I will say specifically, almost like near future, is I'm really looking at ways to incorporate like an educational arm into what I'm doing. I really, really love having conversations with people that are looking for advice or just looking for insight and looking to demystify the world that I'm in. There's so many resources that exist now, and I would love to contribute to that pool that just didn't exist when I started. And there was so much just making things up as I went, which is, it's all part of the journey. It was fun and exciting, and I don't mind it. And I don't think I would necessarily change anything of how that played out. But there was a lot of struggle, and a lot of uncertainty, I think confidence comes with knowledge, comes with the known. So I think being able to fill in those gaps for people and provide some like earlier stage confidence and earlier stage knowledge, something that I'm really passionate about. Still finding the balance and the bandwidth to provide that, just because, tour is something that really causes you to grasp and realize how finite you are as a human, like your energy, your time, the number of hours in a day, the number of years in your career. So you really have to pick and choose. So I think if there was anything else that I would pursue and try to like add in at this moment, it's like some type of infrastructure for educating, because it's like I can have conversations one-on-one with fans that might track me down at a physical show, and those are really great. But I would love to set something up that's a bit more structured, whether it's like workshops. I'm actually working on putting together an infrastructure for mentorship calls at the moment, so that's going to be kind of like my first step into just taking it on slowly as I have time, because that's something that I can do remotely while on tour even. So yeah, I'm excited to kind of start rolling that out hopefully soon.
Yeah, this sounds awesome. And I mean, you have the years in, you have the hours in, you have the experience. And yeah, as you said, so when starting out, when I started with how to become a rockstar photographer like 12 years ago, there was Adam Elmakias and there was Todd Young. And I think that was it from
Adam's
the
a
big
good
guys.
Friend of mine.
Yeah, from the guys who were at least writing about it. And now you have a lot of people who have their own courses, and so which is great to see that there is still activity going on. And
and it's exciting to be able to kind of participate that in the niche of being a woman in this industry too, because there's as much as there was a lack of knowledge in general, there was certainly like a lack of like insight for the female experience on the road. And that's fortunately kind of becoming more homogenous and less of like a differentiator, which is so great. But there's still an extra layer of kind of unknown for women that want to enter this world, as far as just like, just there's an uncertainty around that, as with anything kind of like moving through the world as a woman. So that's also something that I feel specially positioned to be an asset for.
Yeah. Get it. And so maybe as a last question, like, how do you want to be remembered once you're gone? What should people?
Oh my God, the heavy hitters. Oh my God.
Is there anything special you want to leave in this world?
You're gonna leave me thinking about this one for sure. I mean, just generally like kindness, and I've been on my let's see, how can I give an articulate summarization of what's going on in my head right now. Definitely been on my own journey of like reassessing expectations in life and expectations of other people and expectations of myself, and realizing that getting to a place where you are satisfied with your own quality of life, which is really the only requirement and the only benchmark that exists. Like, FOMO aside, expectations aside, that's the most important thing. And it really requires a huge shift in how you think about other people and their choices, and how other people perceive your choices. And so I think the point that I'm trying to arrive at is I'm on a journey of like really trying to neutralize all those problematic things that like society has indoctrinated into you, or like your particular upbringing has indoctrinated into you, and just trying to participate in building a space in my immediate world, and just like the world in general, of like kindness and acceptance. So as generic as that answer seems, like there is like kind of a specific thought process behind that, and like my own personal lived experience that is really extra motivating to me to create like a level playing field for everyone, and where people are just able to do what makes them happy without judgment, as long as it's the right thing for them.
Right. Thanks. Yeah. What I've found on my own journey is like being unattached to things and being non-judgmental are like huge things, because, people tend to judge everyone else for, what's happening. It's like his fault and her fault, and this is why I'm in this place. And judging is a huge thing. And like unattachment in a way of, not taking things personal when something happens. Most likely people say, oh, okay, that's because of me and I did this wrong or whatever. And if you, as you said, if you kind of level it out and say, okay, I'm trying to at least not be so attached and not be so judgmental, things will change, because you will see people differently, I really...
Replacing judgment with curiosity creates like a crazy shift.
Exactly. And what I also learned is, especially with my wife, advice is not always the best thing to do, because I don't know, right? I think I know, or I want to come from a positive place and, will be of help. But sometimes advice is like the wrong thing to do. And sometimes it's better just to listen and to give the space and be curious.
Yeah. I love that you said that. And this is maybe a bit of a tangent, but something that I've always like been so fascinated by is kind of the silver lining phenomenon. And like there's certain people that are just like they find it difficult to sit in the discomfort of others, and for them the immediate fix for that is like searching for the silver lining. It's like, oh well, it could be worse, or like at least they're like, let's surgically pick the positive thing out of this situation that you're in. Whereas like I have intentionally made a practice of trying to like leave space for what the other person needs. And this is coming from a place of like this, I've experienced being silver lininged and being very frustrated by that. And so trying to like practice eliminating that from my interactions with other people, and like leaving space for them to have this experience, and also just acknowledging and validating like, oh, like this challenge that you're going through right now, yeah, that sucks. I'm really sorry that that's happening. And that, to me anyway, like feels so much better than trying to pick out, like how can we spin this to where you're like not allowed to be as upset about it, and which is like, that's really devalidating to the other person. So I think that's such an interesting like niche concept that I've come to like really think a lot about, actually.
Great. Cool. Thank you so much, Anna. So is there anything else we need to know about you?
Oh, when I figure those things out, I will let you know.
Awesome.
Still unfolding so many things.
So where can people find your work? Because you're having all these beautiful Coldplay shots that I guess a lot of people.
Thank you. I am Anna Lee Media across the internet. So Instagram, my website is annaleemedia.com. And as I roll out like my kind of experiments into like education and mentorship, that stuff will be announced there, posted there. Information can all be accessed that way. So I'd say primarily my primary outlets are Instagram, and then my website has some blogs on it where I get a little bit deeper into some feels around like what's going on with my work at the time.
Nice, awesome. So yeah, I can't wait to see what's coming next for you. I mean, Coldplay is already huge, so maybe getting back to the basics, tour bus and stuff.
Yeah. Can't wait to get back on the road this summer. I'll be ready. So just more of that to come for now. And then, just can't wait to like start talking to more people and seeing where I can help.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anna, for all the insights for sharing and being open and honest with us here. And all the best. Talk soon.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.